Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And look, we did this solo show here. We had this plan for a while because I've been getting a lot of feedback, and we wanted to do some shows. I'd done some shows that had, I answer questions, ask Mr. Biz and things like that. And those have had a good bit of popularity, but I wanted to do something a little different. And we got some feedback on our YouTube channel, actually, about, I'd done some kind of op-ed pieces on some different pertinent topics. This has been a while now, but like I talked about student loan debt forgiveness and what my thoughts on that and the actual long-term impact, the United States debt ceiling and the mess that is, and what is it? How can we fix it? All those kinds of things. So there's op-ed pieces. We got a ton of feedback. People were like, man, you got to do more of this stuff. So this isn't exactly that, but we're going to do a show. And again, I wanted to make it topical. And literally, I was just telling producer Alan before we started, like, man, I was really trying to wait to the last minute to get something that was really topical right now. And I've been struggling. I mean, we had, in the United States here, we had the Trump attempted assassination. We got the U.S. elections. I'm like, but that's still not till November. A lot of moving parts with all that. Like, I don't really want to talk about that yet, but I don't know. Hello, how about the Olympics? The Olympics seem to be dominating. They just started a couple of days ago. And so there's a lot of different things about the Olympics that I didn't know. And we're going to spin some business into this as well. So we're going to talk about not only the history, a little bit of the history, not some boring stuff, but some kind of cool things I learned over the last couple of days, as well as the host cities and the economic impact of those host cities. And then we're going to talk about some marketing, right? What's it cost to actually be a global sponsor for the Olympics? And then I got a really cool sort of anecdote story about Nike versus Adidas and from the 2012 games in London. I'm only talking about Summer Olympics, by the way, on the show today, not winter. But I'll talk about the really cool thing that one of them won out the bid over the other to become the actual official sponsor and what that looked like, and then what the other one did. And it ended up actually working really, really well. I thought it was a super cool story. And then finally, we're going to talk about some medal stuff, some medal counts. So countries have done well, who's got the most medals, who's won the most per games, what individual people have won the most medals, just different. Do you win money for winning an Olympic medal? What's that look like? So that's what we're going to talk about today. You're stuck with me, so that might be good, could be bad. If it's bad, you might as well just shut it off now, because that's all you're going to get is this guy. But anyway, so let's talk a little about the history. So those of you, I'm sure everyone gets, at least I feel like you get inundated, right? The Olympics coverage, especially, well, winter as well, with summer especially. And I think especially because during the summer games, it's a dead period for TV in the United States. There's no new stuff going on. Obviously, there's some streaming things now, but I mean, like the major networks and all the different shows they have and series they have, there's nothing going on. It's a dead period. So I think that's another reason why it's super popular on television. But so the first Olympics in Athens, Greece, 1896. There have been over time, including this year in 2024, there have been 30 Olympic Games now. 21 different cities have hosted. So two cities, have hosted 3 times. London, who just hosted their third in 2012, and then of course Paris, who's hosting their third this year in 2012. A bunch of cities here have hosted 2: Los Angeles, Tokyo, Athens. Just had their second for, I think, millennium actually, and then Amsterdam has actually hosted twice as well. So what's it look like to host? What's it take? So the process, as you probably have heard at least a little bit here and there, because they just announced, I know the 2032 Winter Olympics, but I know 2028 summer is going to be in Los Angeles, and I think at the same time they awarded that, which has been a while now. They awarded 2032, and I actually don't remember where it's going for summer. But it's a huge, long process, and they typically award them about 8 years out, at least 8 years out, I should say. So the host city has a bunch of time because the costs, oh my gosh, let me run this down for you. So I only looked at the last 4 Summer Olympics just to get an idea. A couple of eye openers here. So Tokyo in 2021 actually was for 2020 Olympics, but COVID pushed it back. And Tokyo They originally estimated it was going to be $7.3 billion, the cost for them to host it. Ended up costing between 16 and $20 billion because COVID hit. That just delayed a bunch of stuff, cost a bunch of things. 2016 in Rio was 13 billion. 2012 in London was 15 billion. So you're getting an idea here. We're talking, 15-ish million dollars. 2008, I should say. I want to throw this one in here because it's a huge outlier. Beijing was $40 billion. You're like, why in the world would it cost that much more than all these others that are in that kind of $15 billion range? Well, a lot of people, there's a lot of criticism, especially within their country, of why they even bid on it, because they needed so much infrastructure work, not only the sports venues and everything, but the actual infrastructure work, building roads, increasing the size of the airport, building hotels. You need a place for all these people, right? So each Summer Olympics, it varies by location, of course, but generally speaking, you're talking about 1 million people that are coming in as visitors, as well as all the athletes you have coming in, which is tens of thousands of, or I think it's around between 10 and 15,000 athletes. So imagine what you need that infrastructure wise, not for traffic reasons. I'm talking about roads, not just hotels and sport venues and places to eat and things like that. But that's what drives a lot of the costs. And the benefits, why would you invest this? Why would you want to do the host? Obviously, tourism. You get a ton of people in, maybe people that have never been to your city before. They kind of learn about it. You get global exposure, right? All we're talking about is Paris, Paris, Paris. You see Paris all over the TV and streaming. Of course, I'm sure most people globally have heard about Paris, but you're getting to see sites around Paris, and it's longer term, right? People go, man, I want to go there. I don't want to go there now because I don't want to deal with all the Olympic stuff, but I want to go there. Job creation, right? All this infrastructure stuff I mentioned, and building the venues and things like that, and leading up, and then during running the Olympics, the security, everything surrounding it, the operations, the economic boost of all these visitors I mentioned, 1 million people, with all the hotels, with all the the eating, and then all the sightseeing and all these different things you do as a part of that. The other thing that the host city and or country benefits from is the infrastructure investment, which I mentioned. Obviously, you build those things, they're going to hang around. They're not going to just disappear, right? There's new roads, the larger airport, all those different things, as well as the sporting venues, which helps continue to develop those sports, going forward as you have those new venues. One of the things they were very, very careful about is having what they call white elephants, which are venues that they build specifically for the Olympics, and then they sit empty and they end up becoming like a graveyard. And I know Beijing was another one of those cities that was roundly criticized for that. And I just want to mention this. I mean, on a personal note, as far as people using it going forward. So Mrs. Biz and I went to Barcelona. We went to Spain and did some different things. We were in Barcelona. This was in 2015. So they hosted the Summer Olympics in 92. In 2015, so 23 years later, there were tours you could take to see Summer Olympic sites. The hotel we stayed in is where the United States basketball dream team stayed, and they still were touting all this stuff 23 years later, talking about that. So, it's ongoing marketing opportunities. And then, of course, again, that tourism stuff. So I think that's about it. I want to cover with that. Get some of the kind of boring, not really boring, because I think some of these numbers are astounding. I didn't have any idea a lot of these things. Kind of interesting. I want to go and talk about marketing next, though, and some of the different aspects of becoming a global partner. Again, what's it cost? What's that look like? And then the real cool story about how Nike and Adidas, how they kind of battle with each other.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@mrbizsolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, talking about the Summer Olympics. And I want to get into this because I want to make sure we get this covered in this segment, because again, I want to talk about some, sport-specific things and individuals as well as countries and medal counts and making money from the Olympics and all that kind of stuff during the last segment. I want to get, but I want to bring in some marketing into this, because obviously you see, if you watch any of the Olympics, which I feel like a lot of people watch a good bit of it, and I end up watching sports. I don't know about you. I end up watching sports that I basically see once every 4 years. I was watching the other day with some buddies, and we were watching some rugby. Some they call it sevens, which the original, I guess, rugby was much larger, but now they play 7-on-7. And I'm like, man, this is such a cool sport. Like, I'm going to literally watch more rugby now because I got to see it and realize and recognize. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot how cool this sport is. I want to watch more of it. And then the other thing I like too is that if you're anything like me, Mrs. Biz, somebody, you sit around and all of a sudden you're watching a half hour of a sport that really you know nothing about, but now you've watched a half hour, you think you're like an expert. So, you're watching diving, you're like, oh, well, he over-rotated on that. Like I know what the heck I'm talking about, right? But you kind of become, the armchair judge of sitting at home, listening to it and watching it for a bit. But so anyway, on the marketing side, a lot of these, obviously is to be a global partner. So this year in 2024, and I think it's been for the last several, they limit it to 14. They want no more than 14 global partners. Now, again, there are sponsors, like a whole boatload of them within in each individual sport, right? You might have a paddle maker for ping pong. You might have the company that makes the ping pong balls that are sponsored for, smaller things, but the global partners, which again, I think they're 14 this year. And think about companies like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, I think, as best I could tell, is the longest global partner. So Coca-Cola has been in every Summer Olympics since 1928. And I was going to look it up, and I'm not even sure when Coca-Cola actually started as a company. I want to say it wasn't too much before that. And of course, it didn't cost as much back then. Probably relatively it did, based on the cost of value of money and everything. But, companies like, again, I mentioned Nike and Adidas, Coca-Cola, Visa, Samsung, McDonald's. Again, these are things that everybody globally knows. These, you can go to any country in the world or virtually, and they're going to know about these companies. Again, the global brands. Think about McDonald's. McDonald's is ubiquitous, right? It's all over the place. So those are some of the typical brands. Again, 14 global partners this year. It varies based on the agreement you have, right? But to be a global partner, at a minimum right now for the 2024 Olympics, it was at least $100 million. A lot of money, right? But, and some are more than that, but it's at least $100 million. That's for 4 years though, right? So you get to use that for 4 years leading up to and through this year's 2024 Olympics. So as soon as, I guess this cycle, you probably got cheated a little bit because the 2020 Olympics didn't happen until 2021 because of COVID. So really, if you think about it, you kind of got cheated out of a year, 25% of your normal time you would have gotten to be able, because you can't start promoting unless you were obviously a global brand sponsor, for 2021 as well. But as soon as the last Olympics is over until the finish of the one that you're actually the sponsor for, you can use it. Now, it's a little bit, so that sounds great. So, man, I got 4 years of exposure. It's a little misleading because, again, most people, you're not hearing. So in, I don't know, 2 months after the Olympics this year, and when you get to, I don't know, October, you're not going to see many Olympic campaigns or Olympic focused things, right, that people are going to be talking about. So you don't really start to ramp it up. I mean, I think I can recall seeing some things and they'll use the logo. So that's another question that you probably have is, okay, so now you're a global partner. What do you get to do? Well, they're the only brand that can actually use the Olympic rings and or the Olympic flame in any of their advertising. So again, they can say they're official sponsor of the 2024 Summer Olympics, et cetera. So that's a big advantage you get. So the story I wanted to tell you, the Nike versus Adidas. So this is for the 2012 Olympics in London. So of course they're bidding. Adidas and Nike are bidding to be the official, outfit sponsor, athletic sponsor for that game. And Adidas ended up winning. and they bid $150 million, again, back in 2012, so 12 years ago now, but it cost them $150 million to outbid Nike. So Nike goes to the drawing table and says, man, that really stinks. I guess they bid aggressively and it went back and forth, et cetera. And so instead of Nike just sitting back and going, well, I guess, we got to wait 4 more years and hopefully we'll win for 2016, they developed a bunch of different things they did, and the results were absolutely crazy. So as part of the Adidas being the official sponsor, Nike was not allowed to use London as United Kingdom London. They weren't allowed to use that or mention it at all in any other advertising, any marketing, anything like that. So they created a campaign about other Londons around the world. And I particularly remember this one because one of the Londons that they focused on was London, Ohio, which is like, I don't know, probably 45 minutes, 50 minutes from where we live. And it's a little tiny, small town, but they focused on all these other little Londons. So there's a London in Jamaica. And they focused this marketing campaign around it and talking about everyday people, right? And this happens, you don't have to be just an elite athlete, right? These are everyday people, and they're showing people from London, Ohio, doing different things. London, Jamaica, and they had, again, several different ones. And then they used that to create another campaign called Find Your Greatness. And so where they focused on outside of this London thing, which is kind of the base of what they did everyday people doing things. So people run 5Ks, weekend warriors run their first 5K or playing in a rec softball league. And their whole focus was, hey, you don't have to be an elite athlete to wear Nikes. Like, this isn't just for Olympic athletes. However, another genius thing they did, and I wish I should have popped it up so I could have put it on the screen for you. They created a special line of Nike shoes. So the athletes themselves can choose whatever they want to wear, right? So they could wear Nike shoes. They didn't have to just wear Adidas, of course. So Nike they like quadrupled down on athletes, getting them to wear their shoes and clothes and everything. Well, the clothes, you're wearing your country colors, right? But the shoes, they created this campaign of shoes, or I guess that's not right. Yeah, I guess marketing campaign. And they were like the chartreuse green, like the yellow green, super bright, and different designs, but that was the base color of all of them. So imagine track and field, those tracks are like a maroon color, like a dark maroon. And every Nike athlete has these bright chartreuse green shoes. So when there's 10 people running and 6 of them have those shoes on, I mean, it's like a neon sign, right? And so that was another thing they did was massive, right? And track and field's a huge part of it. We'll talk about that during the next segment, like the most popular sports and things like that. But so here are the results. I'm going to get to this quick because we're running out of time. So as a result of this, Nike online had 59,000 mentions. Adidas had 26,000. So over twice as many for Nike, who was not the sponsor. Tweets. Nike had 16,000 tweets during the games. Adidas had 9,000. This is not their tweets. These are other people tweeting about them. YouTube views. Nike had 5 million and Adidas had 3.2 million. Again, these are other people mentioning the brand. Now, here is the awesome part. So they did a survey right after the games, a week after the games. 37% of people thought after the games that Nike was the official sponsor versus 21% that thought it was Adidas. So even though they didn't win that, and they saved $150 million, they would have had to bid on it. And they would have made these marketing campaigns or similar ones anyway, being the global partner. So cool lesson to learn on how to kind of pivot and make things work.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, special Summer Olympics version here. So again, we talked a little about the history, some of the costs, some of the benefits for the host cities, and talked about marketing, different things and what it costs and things like that. And then what I found to be a really cool story of how Nike sort of pivoted and when they didn't get the global brand sponsorship and kicked Adidas's butt for the 2012 Olympics and different things they implemented to be able to do that. And so I wanted to focus on this one let's talk about some results here. Let's talk about medals. Let's talk about countries that have done well. Let's talk about the sports. Let's talk about money. So right off the top, so the most popular sports, you might be wondering that. So overall, over time, there have been 40, I thought this was kind of low. There's 42 sports that have been played at one point or another during one of the 30 different Summer Olympic Games. I thought it would have been higher than that. And there's some that have been dropped off, right? That they had a long time ago and they dropped them off, or they had for a short period of time, and they dropped them off. So for example, this year in 2024, they're actually going to have competition in 32 sports. And they've just added some, I think they've just added maybe 1 or 2 this Olympics. And I know they've added a couple of the last few Olympics. I know they've dropped some off as well. So you might be wondering, what are the most popular sports? So they measure popularity based on a bunch of different things. Television viewership, online presence, online popularity, a lot of different things like that. The streaming stuff now, they implement that into it. YouTube views, again, they're bringing all this stuff in, and they have an algorithm like everyone has, right, to kind of say, okay, what's the most popular? So they have 6 categories. They put all these, like for example, this year they'll have these 32 sports, and they put all 32 sports in 6 different categories, A to what is it, F, and A is the most popular. So you might be wondering, what's the top? You might be able to guess some of these, but they were a little bit surprising. So I guess maybe kind of being a homer and as much coverage as it gets in the United States, I assumed that like basketball, specifically even men's basketball, was going to be one of those. It's actually in category B. So it's not in the most popular one. So there are 3 sports in the top category: track and field, aquatics, which is all the swimming, and then the water polo, and then gymnastics. So as I tell you those, you're probably like, okay, yeah, I get it, and it makes a lot of sense. You look at the programming for the Olympics, and what 3 sports do you constantly see? You're seeing swimming, you're seeing track and field, and you're seeing gymnastics obviously because they're so darn popular. Now, on the flip side of that, what are the least popular sports according to the IOC's ranking? A little bit surprising here. Baseball, softball, they combine them. Baseball, so in the lowest category of the 6, baseball, softball, karate, skateboarding, sport climbing, and surfing. And odd side note, if you guys have noticed, if you're watching any of the 2024 Olympics so far, the surfing is being done in Tahiti, which I think is like 9 or 10,000 miles away from France. And I know sometimes you have to have venues in different areas, but I'm like, Tahiti, like there's no surfing that you can do anywhere closer than 9 or 10,000 miles away from France or Paris. Anywho, thought that was kind of interesting. So let's talk about medals. Who's won the most medals? Okay, United States has won the most medals. So I should mention before, again, there have been 30 games. This is the 30th game. So there's been 29 so far. The United States has won 2,638 medals. They've participated in 28 of the 29 previous Olympics. Soviet Union is number 2. It's all the way down. They've only won 1,010 medals. It's total medals, not just gold. We'll talk about gold in a minute. But so again, 2,600 for the United States, just a hair over 1,000 for the Soviet Union. The rounding off the top 5, Great Britain, France, and Germany. Those are the top 5 total medals of all time. And like, for example, Germany at number 5, they've only won 655 medals overall. But an interesting fact that a numbers nerd like me. So while the Soviet Union's only won 1,010 medals, they only competed in 9 Olympics, Summer Olympics, for a variety of reasons. You know many of them. So they've actually averaged more per Summer Olympics than the United States. The United States has averaged 94 medals per Summer Games. Soviet Union is at 112 per each one that they compete in. So kind of interesting. Gold medals, somewhat of a similar story. You got the United States leading the way at 1,065. So think about it this way. They've won 2,600 medals overall, and 1,065 of those have been gold. So, what's that? Maybe 40-ish% have been gold medals out of total. Number 2 is the Soviet Union. Great Britain is 3rd, just like the total medal count. France was 3rd in total medals. They're 5th in gold, and China slips in at number 4 on gold medals at 262. The United States has won the most gold medals overall 18 times in the Olympics out of the 28 that they've competed in. Interestingly enough, again, not trying to give too much, positive press to the Soviet Union, but trying to be fair about this. Soviet Union is the next greatest country. So again, the United States 18 times out of 28 times they've competed. Soviet Union is only 6. So it's the United States at 18. Soviet Union at 6. No other countries had the most medals, gold medals more than once. However, remember what I told you earlier, Soviet Union's only competed in 9. So 6 out of 9 times they've had the most gold medals. You could have some commentary on that. I know there's some controversy, maybe a little shady business been going on over there, at least in the past, with some doping programs and all that, a lot of hearsay and all that. And a lot of it's been proven, which is part of the reason why they've only competed in 9 previous Olympic Games out of the 29 that have been, competed in. But interesting that, out of the 9, they're 2/3 of the time, 2 out of every 3 times they compete, they ended up taking that crown. Individuals. So especially in the United States, many of you probably realize this. Michael Phelps, who's actually doing the announcing this year for the Olympics, most decorated Olympic athlete ever. He's won a total of 28 medals. 23 of those were gold. Now, this is individual as well as team, so he obviously swam on some relay teams and things like that. But he's got the most overall at 28 for an individual. He's got the most overall for an individual, 23 gold. Just to give you an idea. And here's some interesting things. So I wanted to give you the top 3, right? I've never heard of any of these other names. And it's probably because we get Homer stuff here in the United States, right? You're talking about U.S. athletes. So number 2, the person who's won individual with the most medals is Lanza Latinina from the Soviet Union. I may be butchering her name. I apologize. She's won 18 medals. I've never heard of her mentioned. She's competed a while back. But still, you would think that as Phelps was kind of climbing up there, you would have heard. So she's won 18 overall medals. Again, she was a gymnast. Marit Bjørgen, from Norway. And then Nikolai Andrianov from the Soviet Union. They both have 15. So again, I guess in my, my Homer United States brain, I'm like, well, where's Simone Biles? And where's what was the one woman, was it Jenny Johnson, swimmer, was in several Olympics and won. Jenny Thompson, I'm sorry. She's the next highest U.S. person on the list, and I think she was at 12 maybe, because I think Mark Spitz won 11 way back. He's Winter Olympics though, speed skating. But I think Jenny Thompson was the next, and she was around 12. But so again, she's still pretty far down the list because there's a whole bunch of people that are in the teens overall. Real quick, what do you make? Do you make money for this? So I couldn't get information on any other countries, but in the United States, you do actually get paid. So for a gold medal, you get paid $37,500. Silver medal is $22,500, and a bronze is $15,000. I didn't know that they got paid for medals. I was completely oblivious to that. So keep that in mind the next time someone noses someone out ahead of them in place, that at least for the U.S., that they're losing out on some money there. So anyway, that's the show for the Olympics. Hopefully you learned some different things. I know I learned a ton of different things, some interesting things, some eye-opening things, learned a little bit of business in there as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100+ streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.